Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well, because this may ensure that you will hear the presenters very soon as well. Welcome to the CSA Email Summit Digital. It's a new day, a new presentation, and we're happy to have you here today for a day in the life of a consumer mail user. I just want to start with a little housekeeping. This is me, by the way, Sebastian. I'm leading the technical department of the CSA and trying to moderate the session to the session as best as possible today. Quickly about CSA, I guess most of you may know us already. We are here to create and enable quality standards. Our goal is to improve the quality of the email ecosystem, and this is our job by establishing quality standards and constantly looking at them. And since 2014, we have this email summit for this from the CSA. During the last years, it was an off-site meeting, and we were lucky to meet in person, but due to the special circumstances during the past 1.5 years, we switched it into digital. And this is also, again, sponsored and supported by those two sponsors, Dimartian and Halon. Thank you very much for supporting the CSA Digital Summit. How to contact those guys and these two sponsors, you can find in the download section in the control panel on the right-hand side. There you have further detailed information about those two companies. I just recognized that it didn't start. Now it's presenting the charts. I don't know why it didn't start. So about the presentation today, it is allowed to ask questions during the webinar. Second half of this webinar, Marcel and Christian agreed that you can ask your question. You can do that either through the chat, or if you want to ask your question directly, you can raise your hand and ask the question directly. I will give you the rights to speak up. I will mention your name and then feel free to ask your question. It is second half of this presentation when Marcel starts talking about schema.org, AMP and deliverability a little later on. We try to answer the question as best as possible and as many questions as are raised, and please feel free. And we try to give it a little more live than just a dry webinar. And now I'm handing over to Marcel and Christian from Verizon and 1&1, and they will tell you a day in the life of a consumer mail user. So I'm handing over to you right now, Christian.
So you should see my screen now.
I can do.
Okay, I'm just looking for the presentation, which is here. So now you should see the presentation.
Yes.
Okay. I'm Christian, Head of Product Management Applications, and I'm helping for GMX and Web.de to deliver our customers the email and cloud platform inside the logged-in status. And I'm here with Marcel today to show you one day in the life of a customer. And the start is with Marcel.
Thanks, Christian. I'm Marcel, product guy for Verizon Media. We own and host email for our consumer brands AOL, Yahoo Mail, as well as Verizon. And I'm primarily responsible for anti-abuse deliverability and what we call next generation features, specifically targeted and aimed at improving our consumer experience as well as giving senders and brands some tools. So today we actually want to talk a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing. So that is obviously one-on-one with WebDE and GMX, and Christian will talk about that. I will also look a little bit at how Verizon Media is tackling that problem, and then we want to dive into what that actually means for deliverability, and then some. And like Sebastian mentioned, ask questions at the end. You know, we want to make this worthwhile for you guys as well. You probably have questions which we did not anticipate, so feel free to ask. Before we actually dive into the experience, and Christian will talk a little bit about what one-on-one is doing, I wanted to take another look at some numbers. Because they're cool. So one of the, I keep repeating this over and over again, but one of the driving factors really why we're doing what we're doing is 97% of all consumer email really, and the number varies depending on the mailbox provider, but it's in the same ballpark. Christian mentioned that as well, is commercial, right? Email is not being used for a person-to-person communication tool. We all moved on. So this is the number one driving factor why we build the experiences we build. We really just embrace the way email is being used today and what consumers actually want out of their email tools. At the same time, 72% of consumers actually prefer email for brand to consumer communication, right? And that came out of a study where they looked and asked users and people really what kind of medium do they prefer, right? This, you know, television, radio, even text messages, social media, and 72% really prefer email because they can consume this and interact with it at their own time, and they can also find it again, right? Unlike other mediums or tools where, especially on social media, you see it, you know, you refresh your feed, poof, it's gone. And then people ask, like, okay, what about, you know, the younger generation? And the interesting thing here is it's 83% of Gen Z users also say they actually want to continue to use email for specifically that reason. So it's even more important that we really look at how these guys are using email today, right? I mean, especially on our side, right? We have an audience which, you know, tends to be older in the AOL side. They still use it more for communication, but even they move on, right? They have all smartphones. They use other tools to talk to their loved ones, and they increasingly use email to stay in touch with brands they actually love. Our challenge really is that because of that, and because it's so easy to actually send email, we get a lot of crap in our users' inboxes, right? And this is just one image I continue to use just to remind everybody what we're dealing with. It's 90% of delivery attempts, not just at our front door, but at one-on-ones as well. 90% is just crap, right? So this plays a big role in deliverability. We constantly have to look at who's bad, who's good, and the smallest thing, the smallest change we make, right, has a big impact on both bad and good senders, and that might result in an experience in our users' inboxes, which is good and bad, which is something we really, really care about. And because email is being used for commercial purposes, the email volume is just increasing. So users suffer from email fatigue, and stuff is hard to find, and that's precisely why we're doing what we're doing, and why Christian and the team at one-on-one is doing what they're doing. And Christian, you want to talk a little bit more about a girl named Monica, I guess, and see how her life is and her day in the life of an email user.
Yeah, Monica is a model, a persona we use inside the company to remind us that we are doing what we are doing for our customers, and not only for business, to help our customers managing their digital lives. And if we get one step back and look what we are doing all in our digital lives, we see that we make at least 3 online purchases in a month. And I think over the last year, it increased for me dramatically, and I think also for other people. And many of us manage more than 10 subscription services, like streaming services or delivery services, which they are subscribed to, like Amazon Logistics, Amazon Prime, for example. And we spend more than 2 hours a day on social media platforms and on streaming platforms, maybe also for entertainment. And about 40% of people we asked reported that they met their partners online. So we all have a very busy life, and we are simply overwhelmed with information, and information has also become some kind of addiction to the people. And to link this to our business, we can say that email is at the heart of people's digital lives. Email connects us to the services we consume, and it allows us to communicate with each other, and it also keeps the history of all interactions we've taken in the past. Like, it's all stored at emails. And what this means basically is all services we consume digitally use email to communicate with us and to update us on the recent activities, or to notify us simply for deliveries. This means for Monica, if we look inside her busy life and her mailbox, just what's incoming, it's a lot of new emails here. It's like the homework for the kids. It's even more with homeschooling. It's the latest order she did in an online shop. She receives a confirmation. It's an insurance case, maybe an update for insurance, for a car insurance. It's the COVID test she waits for, and also offers she recently placed and needs to wait for the shipment. And on the other hand, also what Marcel said, it's not only about receiving new information, it's also about finding information. So maybe she needs to return a watch she recently bought, and she's looking for the order receipt she has, or she's doing her tax declaration and needs to find some important documents, maybe to get a tax refund. And what we learned with asking customers is that they do not even think about email and the underlying technology. It simply has to work. And if you look that Monica receives about 2,000 emails in a year, we really need to help her staying on top of this. And about 50% of the email she receives, she simply does not want. It's spam or email she considers as spam. Other big slice is wanted email, but commercially. And the other part, you see it's here with the shade, it depends from user to user and from service to service, is wanted non-commercial information, like person-to-person communication. And we all know email was built for personal communication and not as information hub for our digital lives, because we see that 93% of emails comes from machines, from automated processes. And what we want to help our users with is giving them kind of an assistance and also kind of automation to stay on top of this huge amount of emails. And that's our solution, which I'm showing you briefly here with a couple of slides and screens. That's the Smart Inbox. And our Smart Inbox has the goal to assist the user also with a kind of machine to keep the overview in their mailbox. So it's a filtered Smart Inbox. And our Smart Inbox shall help Monica to find the important emails when she needs them, find commercial emails in one place, and have sorted away all updates she does not really need at every point in time. So we divided the smart inbox, you see here the intelligente Postfach, in 5 categories. One is allgemein, and allgemein is supposed to carry all important information Monica really wants to receive. Then we sort away the social media updates here, like mails from Strava, from Xing, from Instagram. That's all the updates you receive, and those emails even increase if you drop out of a certain activity cluster. Another category is the newsletters. What we learned is that people really want to read their newsletters, but it's not, but not at every point in time. They really want to have dedicated time to look over if they find some attractive offers and then want to dive in. And we sort, therefore, those emails out in the category newsletters. We also offer here a link to unsubscribe from the newsletter. So if Monica thinks she's had already enough contact with the company, she easily can unsubscribe inside her mailbox, and we submit this wish to unsubscribe directly to the sender. With the category Bestellungen, we categorize all shopping-related emails we detect with our system and put them in the category Bestellungen. It's from the first order confirmation to the shipping confirmation to any times of return emails, and we group them by the order ID here. You see in the overview, that's like the eBay order I did. And as additional service, if the shipping is handled by the DPD or the DHL, we show right on top of the email the current shipping states, because if the user gives us consent, we are able to receive the current shipping state from the parcels. The latest thing we did with our smart inbox is that we provide the category Verträge und Abos. In this category, we offer the customer a handy overview over all subscriptions and all contracts we find inside this mailbox. So for my example, we here have the one-on-one Telekommunikation. That's my telecommunication contract. We have Adobe Creative Cloud subscription, Amazon Prime, American Express, etc. If I open the category, I see, of course, all related emails to this contract ordered by time. And we offer additionally some views on the documents attached to the emails, and we offer the customer also to jump into Tarifvergleich in order to save some money, find a better contract here. So you see the detailed view, tariff change. We advise the customer with alternative contracts. We offer here all documents related to the contract, and we offer a Kündigungswecker, so that's a reminder the customer can set for canceling the contract or to check the tariff again if he wants maybe to change the service provider. So that's basically our approach to the smart inbox, to help the customer to stay on top of the emails and find all information when they are needed at a safe place.
Thanks, Christian. So Christian talked a little bit about what 1&1 is doing there, and you know, when it comes to, seems nice, interesting. She has a busy life. What about other customers elsewhere? And obviously, on our side, Verizon Media, we do things very, very similarly. We, just like 1&1, we focus on what we call really the consumer use cases, and they're a little different than enterprise use cases, right? When you look at other providers, mailbox providers like Google or Microsoft, they over-index on these enterprise use cases, which are really centered around getting things done, to-do lists and utilities, versus the consumer really wants to stay in touch with brands and consume the information they receive from brands, and not just necessarily shopping related, right? Could be newsletters, could be contracts, like Christian mentioned. And we do similar things There are just some quick examples here. Obviously, we also help our users to track their shipments with something what we call top of inbox cards. Could be other things in there. Could be flights. Obviously, the last year that didn't happen too much, but hopefully it will again. Could be other things which we deem important to our users. We really want to bubble that up and help them to discover what is important, when they need it, where they need it, similar to what Christian is doing. We also sort deals, like, you know, when brands send deals, we extract them, we show them. Actually, go one back, Christian. You're too fast.
Yeah.
We show them in a nice view, so you don't actually have to, you know, find them in the inbox, similar to the views Christian was explaining, right? Where they categorize emails depending on what is actually in them, what the content is, but also the context of those. And we go one step further. We even pull in other information from other sources, like your favorite grocery store across the street, right? If there is a deal there, it's all right in the inbox. We also help our users to manage their subscriptions, make sure that they get what they need. Thank you. You know, if they're tired, because, you know, remember email fatigue, if they're tired of certain emails, they can very easily go in there and just say, nah, I don't want emails from that sender anymore, that brand anymore. But we also help them discover new things. There on the right, that's our new subscription app, which is in beta. You know, if you're interested about cars, or if you're interested about cooking and stuff like that, we will help you to discover brands maybe you never heard of, and maybe you start loving them, and you can subscribe to emails. And that's a perfect way for our users to discover new brands, but it's also a perfect way for brands actually to get in front of our users. And you don't really have to buy lists or rent lists or share email addresses to get new users and new customers. Deliverability hint. Now, and we go one step further even, right? So we showed all these experiences within inboxes, but as Christian said, we are extracting that information to help our users really interact with that. And what we're doing, we take that information, be it deals, be it flights, be it your invoices, contracts, right? And we put them in front of our users when we think they're important, when we think they actually want to look at that. So this is a page of yahoo.com, and you see all those different modules. Obviously, you know, you have news stories, you have the weather and all this kind of stuff, what you would see. But if you look closely and if you zoom in a little bit, you can see that there is actually, zoom in, Christian.
Oh,
Zoom. You can see that in the upper right, there was the user's mailbox. On the left, you see a module. There are the deals, and the same deals which were actually in their mailbox. In the lower left, you see the flights, similar to what you've seen at the top of the inbox. Now, with all of these things we are building, one-on-one and us, how can senders help? And last year, colleagues and friends, I would say, from Oracle and myself, we actually talked a little bit about that, right? There's always the mailbox providers, they do one thing and they really just think about, you know, themselves, and they do all of these things and make it more complicated for senders actually to reach a user's inbox. And we talked a little bit about that is not how we look at this, right? This is really, we are brokers between brands and receivers, and we really want to work with these brands, and we believe that we should actually work together and collaborate. And there are tools out there which senders can use, which brands can use to actually help us create that better experience. So Christian, you showed the tracking feature you guys have, the shipment tracking and others. And I know you guys are doing this leveraging schema. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so what we do, we have a machine learning approach. So we currently support about 4,000 online shops, mainly by by machine learning approaches. But what we also offer, especially for the long tail of the e-commerce companies, is that we support schema.org. So we offer shop modules, for example, for Magento, Spryker, where you can adapt to our schema without doing any coding, and automatically all email-related, order-related emails contain the schema, which supports our system to categorize your emails as online shop, as e-commerce related. We have the shipping ID in place, we have the tracking ID in place, so you are pretty fast up and running and supported in our smart inbox order category.
Yeah, and schema is not just a tool to basically annotate the types of emails Christian mentioned, right? Schema is actually a standard. You might have heard about Google annotations. That is the very same thing. And we actually, on the Verizon Media side, we do also the very same. If we see schema in there, it could be promotions, could be deals, something similar to what you see here on the screen, we will leverage it as well. And it really helps us to understand the content and context of an email, and actually, pull it out of the traditional email canvas, put it in front of our users when we think it is important to them, and then also do what we showed. We can put it in front of our users even on their homepage or outside of the traditional email experience. And you've seen the deals view we have, for example, right? The more schema information that we have, if there's schema information of an email, the better it is for us, the better it is for our users, because they can actually discover these things. And also, you're in charge on the brand side, right? Because you actually tell us what should appear in these little snippets, right? What should be the image? What should be the text? What should be the link? Very important when we talk about tracking later on, and what should be the additional information there. And just like Christian mentioned, even if you don't put schema in there, we still attempt to extract that information. So it's better you put schema in there. It's better you actually are in control. We might get it wrong, and that's not a great user experience. And then there's BIMI. Both Verizon Media as well as 1&1, we are in the working group. BIMI, I don't want to spend too much time on it. There have been plenty of webinars about it, but the BIMI stands for Brand Indicator for Message Identification. And really, in a nutshell, it just allows brands, you guys, to put your little logo or publish the logo we use to put next to these emails in the inbox. We also, on the Verizon Media side, we also use these logos for the deal experience you've just seen, right? So when you actually have these deals in the deals view or elsewhere, we also use the logo. And that's just a great way to get some brand impressions and actually make sure we get the right logo and you have your logo next to that experience. You want to talk a little bit about what you guys are thinking about BIMI, Christian?
So we are just currently looking into this. As you mentioned, we are part of the BIMI working group. That's Arne there, and we currently need to align this to our existing products currently. But what we really looking forward to support the standard in the future, of course.
Excellent. One other development in the email world, especially when it comes to building an exciting and dynamic and engaging experience, is AMP. AMP for email specifically, or I believe Google wants us to call it AMP for email. So if you don't know what it is, AMP stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages. In itself has nothing to do with email. There's a subset of the AMP language called AMP for email. The idea really being that you can deliver a very dynamic and engaging experience. So unlike traditional email, traditional email is very static, right? So all the text is part of the payload when you actually send it to the user. And then you have to, once you send it, that's it. It can't change. It can't update itself. So that email, when it actually hits the user or when the user actually opens it might already be stale. We've all seen these emails sometimes, 5 days left for the deal, 3 days left, 2 days left. The user already has 3 emails with kind of the same information, and that doesn't make any sense. Or it's a really timely deal. You send it like a day before, the user comes online, maybe a day later, he still has that email in their inbox, and there's nothing in there which is relevant to the user. And the other part of static emails today are just you just have, if you want to interact with that, you just click a link, then you have to go to a web page. You're basically leaving the experience you're already in. Maybe you have to log in again. So it's just a very disconnected experience, and AMP really helps with that to actually provide the latest and greatest information content to the user the time the user is actually opening the email. Very dynamic content. Some people think AMP is just about fancy animations and stuff like that. That's not what that is. It's not just a carousel you have seen, where you can browse through a bunch of images. You can do that too, and you can load these images at the time you actually open the email. But AMP can do so much more. You can basically push down content of the email, the latest content, the minute a user is actually opening that, and then you can allow the user to actually interact with that email right then and there. And we can create fantastic experiences, especially along the user journey, what Christian mentioned, offers, deals. Somebody can buy something right within an email. They can rate things right within an email. And it's just a fantastic user experience. And it actually puts the power, I would say, into the brand's court, because you can dictate what that experience should look like. You're in charge, you're in control, and it's just a better user experience for our mutual customers. Anything you want to add to AMP? I know you guys are also looking at it, maybe.
We are looking at it, but honestly, we focused recently on the smart inbox at the first step to get the proper categories working and the annotations and the AI model. So that would be one of our next step, also to look inside the AMP and find out how we can support the users there and the senders. It's pretty open currently. I thought you had an example there, but it's gone. So sorry for flipping too fast.
No, it's fine. There was a little sneak preview in there, but I did not want to spill the beans just yet. And Sebastian mentioned, like, if there are questions, I mean, feel free to ask these questions. Raise your hand. Sebastian will make sure that you get heard, and then we can talk about it. So I pause for a second. Maybe there are already some questions on some of the things we discussed. I guess
there was one question raised via chat. I don't know if the folks are too shy to raise a hand and ask it directly, but I'm also happy to ask that question to you. It is a question for Christian regarding the categorized inbox, and when it comes to Trusted Dialogue certified emails, where will those emails be delivered in your new intelligence inbox?
So if it's a newsletter, we will deliver it inside the newsletter category, and if it's social media update, in the social media category, we still have the classic inbox, so that gets no information lost. The customer can still switch between the smart inbox and the classic inbox, and in the classic inbox, everything is at the place the customer's used to.
Okay, so if I get you right, it is the type of content does play a role rather than certification,
exactly.
because it's all the inbox. It's just the kind of clustering and helping the overwhelming filled inbox. Cool.
It's really helping to focus on the important emails, find the newsletters if you're interested in finding your newsletters or having an overview on the orders you did. So that's just the additional categorization for the customer. The classic folder system, if you have something like a folder structure where you filter your emails in, that's all existing in parallel.
Thanks for answering the question. There's a hand raising.
Fire away.
I try.
I should be on.
Yes,
Yes.
Benjamin.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your presentation, guys. I had actually two questions. One is about AMP, AMP, because I see and I understand it's really powerful. But beside the carousel part, which is probably amazing, but clearly not, it doesn't use all the potential of AMP. If my understanding is correct, it means that the brand must have their own server with APIs and everything to interact with the emails inside the inbox, right? So it means, from my point of view, I think brands needs to be mature enough to be able to handle that kind of resources. I know that in Europe we have several countries. It's not new, but also smaller markets where brands are not that as big as in the US, for instance, when one brand is just huge, while in Europe we have smaller brands and that don't all have the capacity to handle that kind of resources. Am I wrong on this, or is this true?
No, you're spot. Hi, Benjamin. You're spot on, right? If this is a challenge and this is an additional hurdle and some additional investment which needs to be taken into account by these brands. But I would also expect that just like brands use ESPs today to send their emails and other tools and solutions to actually create campaigns, they would do the same thing with AMP. In essence, AMP is basically pulling some of the content you might already have or some of the experience you might already have on websites into an email. So maybe you can leverage that infrastructure, or some of these providers and some of these ESPs or marketing platforms, once they start supporting AMP, like Salesforce, they will offer these solutions and they will probably or definitely host the content for you. And it's also great opportunity for other companies and startups to actually come in and provide these solutions. There is a company called Skipify out there, Maymoto, they're doing some fantastic things. Stripo, Aweber is another ESP. They all embrace AMP and offer these tools and these hosted solutions for brands to actually take advantage of.
Okay, thanks. And my second question was about, do you consider that helping the consumer clean their inbox is an interesting feature? And I have a special thing in mind, but what do you think about that?
Do you mean cleaning in terms of removing?
Yes, we have a lot of emails, and I believe very few people are actually deleting emails when they actually don't need them anymore. And so just making the inbox a whole mess with a lot of things in it. And I believe that it would be beneficial to help users get rid of those emails if they just don't need them anymore.
So we see three current user behaviors. So that's the keepers, people that just keep everything in one place and getting completely messed up. We have the deleters. That's people, they more or less delete all read emails, which when they are thinking they don't need them any longer. And we have people sorting those emails in their own folder structure. What we think is that if we manage them to help them automated to have a good categorization where they find the emails when they need it, it's not necessary to remove those emails, because it's, for my opinion, it's quite dangerous removing emails automated in order to avoid deleting emails the users would need later. So
oh yeah, it should not be made automatically. I think it would be helping them, you know, finding easily those that don't need anymore. What I had in mind is that there are email storage might, I mean, it's very small for just one email, but if we consider all the emails that people are storing in their inbox, it's actually a lot. And
sorry, Benjamin, if I cut you short a little bit, because we still have to go through some more content here. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the expiry header to put them into an email and then allow mailbox providers to basically act on that and ask the user if they want to get rid of it. I believe, yes, if we can delete or get rid of some of the emails in the user's inbox which are not needed anymore, roughly only 20%, 25% of all emails are ever read, right? So we have 75%, 80% of the emails are just sitting there forever. And that just doesn't make any sense. So yes, we welcome ideas and tools like that. Devil's in the detail on how we actually talk to a user, because as Christian said, we cannot just go there and just delete a bunch of emails unexpectedly. So this has to be a tool we basically put in front of users, similar to the subscription management, right? If we help our users to manage what they have in their inbox as well as what actually gets into their inbox, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Benjamin. Okay, so we talked about these tools. And obviously, we also wanted to talk a little bit about what that actually means for deliverability.
Oh, my presentation. Here we are.
So we talked about these experiences, which are non-traditional, I would say, right? It's not just an inbox, and it's not just that a sender or a brand wants to get the email into that inbox and then look at, okay, did I get it delivered? Did I get bounces? You know, do I have opens? And we talk about that in a second as well. And do I get clicks, right? These experiences are really different and diverse across different applications, whether using mobile apps or the desktop. And users might consume these emails, like we said, not just in the inbox, but in different views. Or maybe they're not even interacting with the email at all. Maybe they're just interacting with the content of that email shown elsewhere. But as always with deliverability, really focus on the basics. Get them right first, right? The first one is really authenticate your email. Kristen? Yeah. And there's nothing there to see. It's just, you know, authenticate your email, like the digital thumbprint. You really want to know who you are, right? This helps us not necessarily to know, oh, you're bad or you're good, but it helps us to really understand who are you, what kind of emails are you sending. It helps your reputation, and it also helps us, in some cases, protect your brand, especially when you implement DMARC and somebody else, you know, wants to spoof your brand and really rip off our users. So that's helpful. The second one, double opt-in. Make sure users actually asked for your email, right? And the best way to do this is with double opt-in, right? Do not buy lists. Don't just send or start sending emails to users because they did something somewhere, and maybe that means they want an email, maybe not. I know the law is different depending on what country you look at, but if you really want to make sure that you have consent from your users to receive email, do double opt-in. And it actually also helps you with some other things later on, you know, when you're not really sure, did they open the email? Can you still track that? Maybe I should use opens, you know, to inform that people want the email. Like, no, don't do that. Do double opt-in. Then you know they asked for the email. And when they tell you that they don't want it anymore, you know, why unsubscribe? Stop sending email. But then also concentrate on what you are actually sending, right? sometimes we have receivers and brands, and they come to us and say, we have a high spam folder rate, or spam votes are high, people are unsubscribing, but I have opt-ins, I have double opt-ins, they want that email. And then we say, well, that might be the case, but do you actually send something users actually want, right? They might have said yes, but once you start sending, the quality, the content of your email, right? Is it relevant? Is it actually, does it make sense for the user you're sending to? Are they engaged? And that can mean many things. You know, for many brands, it means, oh, they open the email and I see an open in my tool. But when I talk, or when we talk about engaging, this means, are they engaged with your brand, not just within emails, but elsewhere, right? You probably talk to these guys or reach out to these users on a web page, or it could be a brick and mortar store, or something else, right? So that's what we mean with engaged users. And then send something which is actionable, right? Or maybe it's just informational, that's fine too. Then that's fine, you know, send it to them, ask for their permission, and then, you know, you're done. But if you want them to do something, if we really care, not just about opens, but conversions, make it very easy, make it actionable. And putting schema.org scripts in there actually helps with that, right? Because then it allows us to really understand the content and context of these emails and put them in front of users and make them actionable for these users. And don't worry too much about like what kind of words you put in there, right? There is no such thing as spammy words, right? So sometimes people say, Christian, next one.
Yeah, oh, pardon.
Sometimes people say, oh, when I put the word free in there, it will end up in the spam folder. No, that might have been in the, you know, maybe a long time ago, right? Spam filters work by looking at words and phrases and regex and stuff like that. That's not how spam filters work nowadays. It's really about the context, who's sending email, how are our users engaging with that email. So don't worry about the content really. Content needs to be relevant to the human being, right? They need to get something out of it. The machine doesn't really care too much about it. So if you want to put a free sticker in there, do that. But at the same time, also remember that our users are using these or interacting with these emails outside of the traditional email canvas in some cases, right? So on the right, you see the shipment tracker or the order tracker for one-on-one. On the left, you see the deals view we have in our Yahoo Mail app. So when the user is actually opening these views and interacting with these pieces of information, they're not opening an email technically, right? So when you care about the traditional open metrics, which are really measured by opening or by loading images within an email, you're not really measuring what the user is actually doing. In these cases, you see people interacting with the content of your email and they never open an email, right? We actually had some senders ask us, hey, I see clicks on my email, but I don't see any opens. How could that be? And this is one example here. People might not open your email, but they are still engaging with your content, right? In this case, they were clicking. So focus on that. Do not focus too much on, you know, the traditional metrics you think are important. They're also not necessarily important to us, like how many images are being loaded when we talk about spam filters, when we talk about measuring engagement to inform our spam filters, right? We look at the much more signals to understand whether people want those emails or not. And the opening is not the core metrics, right? We also look at are people interacting with these deals in the deals feed? We're looking at other stats, like you see the stores and brands listed up there, right? How are they sorting it? So there are all these additional signals we have to really inform whether somebody wants an email from a brand or not. And it's not necessarily just the traditional open metrics. And why do I keep talking about opens? Well, Apple did something, I believe 2 weeks ago. They must be crazy, right? I mean, they're destroying one of the key metrics. And I would say it's good on them, good for them to do that. Because we actually believe that the way senders track consumers today is not good, right? Because in theory, it allows brands and senders to really track whether Christian is opening an email on what device, where he is, how often, right? And in many situations, that's not necessary. It's also completely unexpected for users. When you really ask them, do you think that your favorite brand is able to track how often you read their emails, where you read their emails, on what device, they would say no. When you tell them that, yes, actually they can do that, they're really confused and they do not want that necessarily. Also, the way open rates are tracked today, like I said, with image pixels, is already faulty. It doesn't really work. And here's an example. We did a study where we really looked at what are the real open rates, like, because we can see how often users are actually opening the email, because obviously they're connecting directly to our servers. And we compared it to what ESPs see with the pixel tracking, and we also compared it to a specific behavior of a specific client when they connected to our IMAP servers. And we see here the ESP open rates are consistently higher because they see images being loaded. And that could simply be explained in this particular case. It was a device, actually an Apple device here. When you connect this to Wi-Fi and you charge it, they start just downloading emails and content of emails. So Apple was already doing something they announced for later this year, which is like prefetching all these images. So they already have been doing this in some shape or form, not for all emails, but they have been doing this before. And there are other apps like we prefetch as well, not as aggressive as Apple, but we do it to actually enhance the user experience. So when you're browsing through your email list on Yahoo Mail and you open one email, we anticipate which email you might be opening next, and we pull down all that content. And you might think the user opened that email and they never did, right? Because we just downloaded content up from these emails, because for us, it's just content. It's images we need to show the user. It's not necessarily a signal which tells you that the user did something with that email. So that's why we think open rates, probably not the best measure. So what should you be doing? You should probably really care about other KPIs. You should focus on, depending on the content of the email, you should focus on conversions. You should, if you want your users to do something, then measure that. If you want them to click on something, measure that. If there's nothing in the email, which is just informational, that's fine too. Send it, be happy that they got it. Look at, standard deliverability metrics like delivers and things like that. Listen to negative signals. People will tell you if they don't want an email anymore, right? People will tell you if the email is not wanted. Make sure that you have a support unsubscribe, RFC 8058. Make sure that you receive even, if you can, feedback loops from mailbox providers. That's a signal. Or look at what they do elsewhere. I said that before, engaging users. They engage with your brand, not just within email, but elsewhere as well. And who knows, Christian and one-on-one, they're building all of these other tools, all of these other experiences which might mess with a traditional open rate tracking. We certainly do. Apple just announced something, but there might be light at the end of the tunnel, right? Because we realize that you need some kind of metrics, you need some kind of insight, and maybe, what do you think, Chris? So maybe we can come together and create a standard around it.
Let's try. Happy to join. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me, and probably to others as well. Just like what Benjamin mentioned with the expiry header, maybe there's something we can all collaborate on. So that's what we wanted to talk about in terms of the experience we build for our users, how it impacts our spam filters metrics and deliverability. And we have like 4 minutes left, and see if there are questions.
Thanks, guys, for that great presentation. And what I liked most is, and you answered that question already, because when you're mentioning that open rate, we may not or no longer trust it, and it may be the wrong KPI to look at. You already slightly answered what to look at, because within marketing world, everyone is measured somehow on KPI, right? The judgment about the success of a campaign is measured based on a KPI, and you need something to measure. And what I really liked was the advice from you, that rather than just looking at the open rate, think about what you've done. Do you want to have a click or a download or a specific type of interaction? Measure the rate of that specific interaction, and that plays back the success of your campaign. I really like that comment. Nevertheless, there is a question that I have about Monica, not the telephone number, but you, and that was very interesting to see, 50% of the email that Monica received is still unwanted. How does the consumer, like Monica, let you know that this email is unwanted to her or him?
So we see that a lot of emails are deleted, unread. So that's one of the keys we have. And we see a lot of spam clicks on legit emails. So they receive a newsletter, a mailing, also confirmed via double opt-in. And at this point of time, people just mark them as spam. And practically it's not spam, it's a legit email. So that's what we see. And of course, also people just telling us that they have over advertised inbox, and that's also spam is used as a synonym for emails I do not want. And that's what we get a lot of feedback for. People just, maybe they subscribe for drawing for a Gewinnspiel and receive a couple of emails from the sender, but because the email is used for the address is used for other use cases than this destroying the user participated in. So it's just user feedback, spam clicks, deletion of emails.
Marcel, anything to add there from Verizon side?
No, it's the same, right? That's why I kept harping so much on the double opt-in stuff, right? Ask your users, make sure you have permission, and then follow through, send something the users actually want, right? Don't do the the old switcheroo. Maybe they sign up for one thing and then you just keep blasting other stuff. They do not want that, and they will vote with their feet. Could be a spam vote, this is spam, or they just simply mass delete your stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
What we saw, maybe one thing to add with this newsletter unsubscribe option we have on top of the email, we saw those spam clicks on legit emails decreasing, and I think that's also quite beneficial for the sender, that you are not rated spam, but the user is offered to get rid of the emails if he or she does not want them any longer.
Okay, so I think we're now top of the hour if I'm looking at my clock. Just a quick question and a feeling from you about adoption of schema and AMP. By feeling, what percentage is schema.org and AMP currently used in the emails that you see in tracking?
Couldn't give an actual number, but schema is actually used a lot. So what some people do not realize, that there is actually a category of emails, travel industry, for example. Most of those emails already have schema built in, because these senders, these companies, they also use it to exchange information between themselves. So most of these emails, flight confirmation, they already have that built in. Shipment confirmation companies, they usually put that in there as well. So there's a lot of schema already being used in emails, and senders don't really realize that. And we just say it's easy. Ask your ESP, ask your marketing email marketing platform on how you can actually leverage that.
Right. Okay, so I think we're at the top of the hour right now. Thanks very much for that great and very interesting presentation. If we now missed any question, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, to CSA. We're happy to forward those questions and link you to Christian and Marcel for further for further answers and further details. Thank you very much. We're looking forward for the next session here at the CSA Digital Summit, and you will get the recording of that session. Thanks, Marcel. Thanks, Christian, and have a great evening and a great day wherever you sit on the world.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.